Right. Already 26 people are on time and ready to go at 12 o'clock noon Central. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. Who are you? Where are you calling from? And what's your role? And is this your first time to Agile Austin? Hey, Brian.
Hello. I don't know if my audio is off.
No, it's on. I can hear you.
Are we supposed to respond verbally or in the chat?
You can respond verbally until we get started. But if you go in the chat, it will persist and we'll have your information as well. So however you prefer.
Okay. I'm Spring from Ascension Technologies, and this is not my first time to Agile Austin.
Awesome. Well, welcome back, Spring.
Thanks.
Let's see, I saw Dina. Hey, Dina.
What up, ladies? A little more stalkeration going on. I didn't think I would make this one. I'm so glad I was able to join live. Looking forward to this.
This is one of my favorite topics because I need so much help and practice with it. Let's see here. Hello, Abhijit from Winnipeg. Second time. Welcome back. Amanda Schultz is joining, possibly first time with this specific Agile Austin meetup group. Welcome. We hope you come back. And Ravi is joining, first time from Tampa. Are you experiencing any inclement weather with some of the storms that are going on down there?
Knock on wood, not yet. Thank you for asking. Yeah, we've got the outer bands, which could be stronger later on this afternoon, but thank you for asking.
Yeah, well, stay safe down there.
Sure, definitely.
Hey, Mark, welcome back, Mark Metzi. Steve is a value stream consultant and it's his second event. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back to join us. Esther is calling in for the first time from Georgia. Welcome, Esther.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay.
And Cynthia Kahn is an ATX regular. It's good that there are some of us left out there.
Thanks.
All right. Ben is calling in from Austin. Excellent. Welcome, Ben. Longtime member. Love to see that. Richmond, Virginia. Allison is calling in from Richmond, Virginia. Happily joining Agile Austin events for a few months. Yes, that was something that we were actually blessed with out of the pandemic is more of a larger footprint, I guess, in the Agile space now that we're meeting on Zoom rather than in person. So welcome, welcome. Gregory is calling in from Golden, Colorado. And welcome, Max. We couldn't do it without you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Are you back stateside, or are you still globetrotting?
No. I'm calling in from Austin. From Austin. Yeah. I mean, exciting news is my first day at PayPal. I mean, today.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Janet's joining from Austin, went to a few SIG meetings. Now she's a doc manager for a fintech startup. Oh, welcome. All right, it is 5 after, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started because we have an amazing guest with us today. And I am so excited and grateful for her time today to join us and share a little bit about being a change agent and about influencing others. So welcome everyone to the Agile Austin Scrum Master SIG. SIG stands for Special Interest Group, in case it took you 5 months to know that, like it did me. I am Jessica Barr, and my co-host is Jimena Blake, who is manning our slides and the recording of the session. So thank you, Jimena.
Hello.
And next slide. Our mission is to connect people and foster professional growth through collaborative events that educate our community on uncovering better ways to deliver value through Agile values, principles, and practices. We are a nonprofit. And next slide. This is our board of directors. Max is on the call. He is our president as of, I think he steps into that role starting September.
No, correction. We started back in first week of July.
July, okay, July. Well, he's been on the board for so long, it just kind of always seems like he's been in charge. So, so welcome. These are the board of directors as of July. Thank you. Next slide. And again, we've got plenty of other special interest groups that are meeting as well. Coaching, DevOps, there's a book club. If you know someone who's interested in stepping out and taking more of a leadership responsibility and they are a product owner or are passionate about the product, send them our way. We could use another co-host for the product SIG. Next slide. And if you're interested in joining, it is a paltry $35 for the entire year. And the benefits that you get are that you get to vote, you get to join certain special sessions, certain social events that happen. And this is a really great group of people. So you definitely want to be a part of it. Sign up at agileaustin.org/join. And thank you to our Platinum Agile Austin sponsor, Agile Velocity, and the rest of our various tiered sponsors in gold, silver, and bronze. Thank you. And if you or your organization would like to become a sponsor, you can do so at the various levels here, or there are other opportunities to sponsor us back someday when we go back to normal meetings with event space or food or conferences or giveaways or all sorts of things. There are a number of ways that you can help, so thank you. And my favorite part, we are a community here to support each other. So do you know of a job opportunity? Is your company hiring? Share the details in our chat. Start it with #hiring so that we can share the wealth of opportunities that there are here in Austin to join a company as a Scrum Master. And our agenda for the rest of this year is we're right here at Influencing Without Authority. Next, we will be talking about our retrospective radar in September. We've got some very popular question comes up all the time about metrics. So we'll have a conversation with Rajiv about metrics in October. And then in November, we have our Agile games on Discord that was rescheduled from this month. So we'll have that in November. All right, and if you are interested in presenting, this is a great place to do it. It's a safe space. People here are mostly friendly. And they will, and it gives you lots of really good practice if you are interested in getting into the presentation space. So send us an email. And without further ado, let me introduce to you our featured guest speaker for today. Her name is Cherie Silas, and she is a passionate coach who is incredibly interested in making sure that the people that she works with attain and achieve their level of success for their life. And this is something that I think is amazing, and I'm so excited to have her. And I will stop talking now so you guys can listen to her speak. So Cherie, please tell us how to be an influence without having authority.
All right, I sure will. I'm going to take over screen sharing and let me hit go. All right, getting started always takes just a second for all the little negotiations. I'm going to open up my screen really wide so I can see everyone. I see lots of people, several of you with videos on, so thank you for that. It'll be great to interact with you. Throughout this, please feel free to talk to me, ask questions, give comments, disagree with me, all that stuff's fine. It just makes for a little bit more fun and makes things a bit more interesting. So yeah, as Jessica said, I'm Cherie Silas. I think I know a few of you. I'm the head coach at Tandem Coaching Academy, and we do coaching, organizational coaching, executive coaching, and then we also train coaches. So train Agilists and train professional coaching. Our focus with Agilists is to help them to take professional coaching and implement it into the work they do as Agile coaches and to experience the benefits there. So today we're going to talk a bit about influence without authority. If you're a Scrum Master or an Agile coach, you've probably experienced you don't have any authority, right? You go into organizations, you want to help them do things, and then you don't have the power to actually force change to happen. Well, that's okay, because forcing things usually doesn't work all that well. So instead of forcing things, I want to tell you about different ways to work with people. And I'll start with this. How many of you have ever experienced something that looks about like this on your engagements when you're Scrum Master or Coach? Yeah, a few of you. And what I consider a train wreck is when I'm trying to work with an organization, and usually something I did creates just big problems for me. I'm not interacting well with people. I'm trying to force my own way on people, and they're just not having it. They want to do things their own way. They want the engagement to look one way, and I want it to look another way. And all of those things make for a train wreck. And I used to experience those train wrecks, especially when I had my own opinions about the roles that people should play, how managers should be. Who are these project managers? They don't even belong here. There's no project managers in Scrum. Read the Scrum guide. Why are you even here? Yeah, so let me tell you, that does not create an environment where people want to work with you. And so I had to learn a better way. And what I have found is that a better way is to utilize not just coaching skills, but having a coaching mindset. Because a coaching mindset causes you to see people differently and helps you to interact with people from a completely different perspective. Because it's not just about behavior and your behavior and their behavior. It's really about how you look at humans and what you think about humans. And because of the way you think about them, you interact with them in ways that reflect your real thoughts. So one of the first questions I generally get from coaches and Scrum Masters is, how do you handle resistance? How about you? How do you handle resistance? Do you ever come up against resistance? Yeah. What kind of things are people resisting?
Change.
They're resisting change. Okay. What else?
Resisting you being there?
Why are you in my world? Yes, they're resisting just your presence. Why are you here? I didn't ask for you. My funnest experience as a Scrum Master was I was hired, brought in, the manager walked me into the room with the people I was going to be working as a Scrum Master as and said, here's your new Scrum Master. And they all looked up at me and somebody said, who the hell said we needed a Scrum Master? I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. They ended up letting me after a while, but it took a little while after they felt like I was no longer pushed on them. So yeah, resistance is a thing. And when people ask me, well, how do you handle resistance? I've got a few answers. My first answer is quit creating it. Most of the time, much of the time, people aren't resisting change, and they aren't resisting Agile. They're resisting you. I don't want to work with you because I don't like the way you treat me. You talk down to me. You act like you know my job, and you've been here a whole 45 minutes, and I've been here a whole 4 or 5 years. Right? So if we come in as the know-it-all, we've got everything under control. We know stuff. We can tell them how to do their job. We know how to run their company. We go confront executives, and we've never actually been in an executive role. So we go and tell them how to do their job. Yep, that doesn't work really well. All it does is create resistance. The second thing about resistance is if you push your will on them, they're going to resist. Who likes it when your mother-in-law or the person next door comes over to your house, goes into your kitchen and says, this is all wrong. Plates belong here, cups belong here, and why are you washing the dishes that way? That's the equivalent of what we do as Agile coaches and Scrum Masters when we come and tell people how to do their jobs. So like, get out. Why are you trying to tell me how to do my thing? This is my house. And so we want to be able to work with them from a different perspective. We want to be able to find out from them. Now imagine if your neighbor came over to your house and said, you've got a really nice kitchen. What do you love about it? What frustrates you about it? What do you wish was different? If you could do one thing to improve your kitchen so you could have the one that you like, the perfect kitchen, what would it be? And then you told them, well, I want an extra cabinet right over here. And they were like, cool, I'm going to get you that extra cabinet. I'll come help you hang it up too. That work? It's a whole different experience than if they come in and tell you how to do things. So when we're working with people, it's important to create an environment where they want what we've got to offer. Because it doesn't matter how smart we are, how experienced we are, how much expertise we have. If they're not interested, then it's not helpful. So as a professional coach, one of the things that we learn is that there's a way of looking at people that has to shift. The way you think about people and the way you interact with people, it's got to shift from a thinking of, I'm here to fix you. I'm here to fix your Agile. I'm here to fix your company. I'm here to tell you how to do things. I'm taking my competence and I'm going to make you competent. Really, what we need to do is assume that people are competent. We were asked to come into the company to be a partner with them, and we have to assume that they know what they're doing. I mean, let's face it. Their company is making enough money to afford to hire you. So they must be doing something right. They've gotten this far without you. And when you leave, they're going to continue without you. So they are competent. They're also not broken. They may ask you to come and bring your expertise because they recognize that you have skills and they have skills and you fill gaps for each other. But it doesn't mean they're broken and you need to fix them. It means that you need to partner and blend because they've got domain knowledge you do not have. They've got history and experience, and they know how things work and what will work and what won't work in their company. And you've got ideas about how to solve the problems that only they understand. If you come into an organization or a team and you look around and you're like, that's broke, that's broke, that's broke, you need to do this, you need to do this, it's not helpful. And you probably don't know enough to actually make those assessments. It's better to ask them and assume that they know what they're doing and that you're not going to fix them, but you're going to work with them and partner with them. The difference is when we assume that people are intelligent and competent, and then we see something weird happening, why in the world did they make that decision? Or why are they doing something this way? Or why is this person acting this way? If we assume that they're competent and not broken, instead of getting aggravated and trying to change them, we'll actually get curious. Instead of saying, this is dumb, y'all need to do it this way, you'll be like, wow, this is weird. Okay, interesting. There must be something, there must be a reason they're doing this, right? They're competent, they know what they're doing, they evidently are doing this to solve some problem. Well, I wonder what the problem is. I wonder what solution this is a good, what thing this is a good solution for. And so when you get curious, you actually find out more and you build partnership. And then you may find out that what's there needs to change, but they didn't have a better solution at the time. And you might find out that, yep, that's really the only thing you can do at this point. Even though it's weird, it might be the only thing that works in this environment at this moment. Seeing people as creative and resourceful helps you to recognize and remember that everyone makes the best decisions they can with the resources they have at the time the decision was made. That's it. And they may learn more in a few days and make a different decision. But at the time when they made that decision, they made the best decision they could with what they had. And this is why inspect and adapt works. Because we can only do what we can do at the moment we do it. And then we can look at it and see what we want to change, or if the investment is worth the change. So we want to look at their agenda, not ours. So as an Agile coach, as a Scrum Master, I want to get some thoughts from you. What is your mission? Someone hires you, I hire you to be an Agile coach, I take you into my company, I hire some Scrum Masters, I bring you all in and I say, okay, what is your mission? What is it I hired you to do? What are some thoughts about what your purpose is in that organization? I can't see the chat. So if you're chatting, I actually can't see it, but
I'll read it to you, Cherie.
Okay.
Someone has said finding out what the team needs, helping the team to be productive, improving flow, and helping teams sustainably deliver value.
Yeah, help them solve one problem at a time. I just found the chat. So yeah, maximizing value. Good, good. These are all great answers. The one answer that I don't see up here, and I'm actually pretty happy that I don't see it up here, is to fix their Agile. Your role is not to fix Agile. Your role is to help the organization get sustainable business results and better business results than they're getting. And if Agile is a solution to that, wonderful. If it's not, it's not. Then why push it? The reason I bring this is because often Agile coaches and Scrum Masters, I've made this mistake too, they think, well, it's all about Agile. We've got to be doing daily scrums right. We've got to be doing backlog refinement right. We've got to be doing all these Agile things, when actually that's not what the organization needs at the moment. That's your agenda. That's your problem. You see this and you're like, that's a problem. My job is to install Agile. If you actually focus on their problem and what's hurting them and what's getting in their way and what their impediments are, there's this magic thing that happens. Often what you see is not right is going to fix their problems anyway, only they will feel like you are not shoving your agenda on them and you're actually helping them solve their own problems, which you are. And once their problems are resolved, your stuff will float to the top if it's still there. And then you'll have time to work with it because you'll have trust already in place. And the major things that are blocking them from hearing you and listening to you are going to be out of the way. Mark, did you want to add something?
Yeah, thanks, Cherie. So I've got a question. When you're working with a new team and you're trying to build that trust, And you're leading off by asking, what are your pain points? How can I help the team? What are some strategies we can use when you get answers like, I really don't know of anything that you can do. Our team is really already high functioning and doing really well. I'm not sure what value you really could bring. What are some strategies we can use to kind of break the ice and start building that trust?
Yeah, and so great question. I think it's begins with just building relationship. So if you're brand new to an organization, just jumped into a Scrum team, first thing I do is nothing. I just listen, I just watch, I get to know people a little bit to understand a bit about what's happening, right? And so once you've built relationship, then it kind of gives you some permission to do something. Then I built some coaching agreements around, well, what is it that we're going to do together? And this is where Mark's question comes in, right? What are we going to do together? What's the purpose of me being here? What would we like to accomplish? And so I often just come at it through the position of, well, first, what is it y'all are doing well? What are you doing great that maybe we can influence the rest of the organization to do? Because you may have a high performing team, but my question is, do you have a high performing organization? And if not, then how can we take the things that you're doing that are great and help other teams, other parts of the organization do things? What you'll often hear is, well, we can't do that because, there's something we can work on together. And then while you're there, you're also listening for things that frustrate them. Often people don't want to say, when you ask, like, what can I help you fix? What can we improve? Well, depending on the culture of the organization, that might be a bad thing to answer, because that proves that we're not good enough, or we're not high performing, and we might not get a raise, or we might not get a promotion. So instead, if you come at it from the perspective of, what are the organizational impediments? What's frustrating you? What do you wish was not existent because it would help you to move faster, have better quality, service the customer better? If all those things come back negative, I usually then go a bit further out and I ask things that sound a bit like, so when you ship these features into production, how are your customers reacting to them? What's the market feedback? How are people adopting your features and using them? And often I get these blank stares like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. Like, you think we know that? No, we just throw it over the wall and do the next thing. There's something we could start with. Sounds like a very expensive way to work. Why are we not measuring our stuff once it's in production? We don't have a way to measure. Sounds like a great place to start. How can we talk about this from the beginning when we introduce features? How are we going to measure it? And how can we build measurements into the system so that we can get the data, so that you can make informed decisions about if you're actually spending money on the right stuff? So that's one avenue that I have yet, I'm not going to lie, this is horrible, but I have yet to go to a company where I asked, how's your stuff performing in production? And they've been able to tell me. Of all the companies I have ever worked for, this is crazy, right? So that's usually a very open door. And it's bigger than Scrum. Scrum can't fix that. Something else has to fix that. And yes, Agile things can go into that. Agile product management, things like that. And then I also focus on the technology. So how often are you able to deploy? Once a month. Why is that? Well, it's got to go into this environment. It's got to do all these things, right? Or because tests take so long. So there's options to talk about automation and things like that. And don't forget that they can't go from 0 to 100. If they've got some huge monolithic thing and they don't have the power to say, can we break pieces of this off and build and be able to deploy separately, don't just keep telling them they're doing it wrong. You're not going to win that battle, right? Help them to figure out how to move forward from where they are. Stop the bleeding. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Great.
Lots of notes. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or thoughts at this point? Happy to answer some.
There's one question in the chat asking if that is that agreement as you as a coach or a Scrum Master, sorry, the agreement with the team.
I think it's both. So as a Scrum Master, I generally, we work on, well, the team has working agreements. How are y'all going to work together? And then we have an agreement. How am I going to work with you and how are you going to work with me? And I will always look at teams from a quarterly perspective. And the next 3 months, what's the one thing that we want to make better? What's the one thing that we want to fix? What's the one frustration we want to get rid of? Because it's always about becoming higher performing. There is no team that is high performing, we're done. It doesn't really work that way. If you're not continuing to grow, you're rolling backwards. So what is the one thing we're going to focus on in the next quarter? And how are we going to measure success? From a coaching perspective, it's often at the organizational level. And I usually look at that from a year focus, and we check in on quarters. So what is it we're going to focus on for the year, like the big things that we need to move? And this quarter, what's our priority? And have to have measurable results. How are we going to measure success? And there's a process I go through to get to all that. But so it depends on what you're doing, where you're working. As an Agile coach, you might be working with Scrum Masters and product owners. Maybe you're working with Scrum Masters to improve the organization and remove organizational impediments and help things to flow smoother there. And y'all have an agreement about what is it we're focusing on in the next quarter. What's the thing we want to move? We as in y'all, and I'm going to partner with you because this is your company, not mine. Right? And so you're building that sustainability there so that they can do this without you.
I have a question, and I seem to run into this a lot with every organization. There's always those people that have been there a while that are more legacy people. No matter how you phrase it or look at it, they just absolutely resist your presence at all. So you got the buy-in from the new product owner, some of the team, but they're a distraction for the team. The way they're constantly just and they're kind of self-appointed leaders, so they have some influence on the team to get them to behave in a certain way. And I'm currently dealing with it, but also have dealt with it in the past. Some have been more obvious and outright just rude, and other people have just been kind of subtle in their kind of one-word answer, kind of participating, that kind of silent resistance. Yeah, so I think the thing here, if you're looking at it from maybe a bigger perspective, like coaching the organization is kind of what it sounds like. Am I correct here? Or are you talking about this like from a team perspective or an organization perspective, like managers and stuff like that? No, individual like developers, right? So those that are, yeah.
All right, so either case, I think it's the same answer that I have is as humans, there's this thing about us that we think we're right and we want things to go our way. And when something comes against that and resists it, our first inclination is to say, let me quash the resistance. Let me go and make that stop. Let me pull them in, get them on my side. That's actually not the right way to do things, because what you do then is you make it harder. It's an uphill battle. What you want to do instead is recognize that people have different tolerance for change, and there's different reasons why they have different tolerance for change. Sometimes it's because these legacy employees have been there and done that. And this is just the latest phase, the fad that's going to come around and then it'll go away. And they've been jerked around a bunch and they're like, yeah, I just want to get my job done. Or maybe they retire in 6 months and they don't need to learn a new thing. So people have different level of tolerance for change. People who tend to be highly resistant have a lower change tolerance. People who tend to change quickly have a high change tolerance. They can handle a lot of change. They're good with it. Then there's this big group of people in the middle where most of the people sit, not on either extreme. This group of people in the middle is the most important because it's your mass, it's your critical mass. And so what this group of people in the middle do is they just sit and they wait. And they look at their peers and they decide, which way should we go? Should we reject this or should we accept it? So what happens if you go after the resistors, anything you focus on gets bigger. They're going to make more noise. It's going to be more obvious. They're going to do more complaining. People are going to see all the complaints and what's not working, and it's going to get bigger and bigger. And that group in the middle is going to hear from their peers that this is not a good idea. And then they're going to shift in that direction. Instead, what you want to do is focus on the momentum. You always focus on momentum. Don't fight against resistance. Go with momentum. Somebody was interrupting.
Sorry about that.
Okay, I bet you had a question. Right, so you want to go with momentum. And what happens when you go with momentum is the net gets bigger. People start to hear the success stories and they start to hear, the business results and the things that are going better, and the noise becomes there, so people shift. And then as you work through that shift, eventually you'll get to the resistors, and many of them will have shifted, and many of them will have said, we're not going to do this. We're going to go somewhere else. And then you won't have to deal with them anyway, right? So always go leverage the momentum, and that will often help, whether that's at a team level or an organizational level. Jamie?
Hi, thank you. I was wondering, so you kind of touched on this, but I didn't hear it well. But when you're joining a new organization as a Scrum Master, so you're joining you're a seasoned Scrum Master joining a new organization on a couple of seasoned teams. They're high performing. What is that first kind of introduction that you can, how do you introduce yourself to the team in a way that comes across as I'm here to help. I'm not here to change everything. What are some tips on maybe some of those initial conversations to have with the team?
How I generally approach things, whether they're seasoned or not, actually, because what someone else tells you, you don't really know is true until you get there. So I just assume they all know what they're doing. Is just, hey, this is who I am. I'm here to be a partner with you. I'm not here to push my own agenda on you. I want to help you be successful. And so that's my number one priority, is to help you be successful. I'm going to help you move things that are getting in your way, things that are frustrating. And in order to do that, first, I'm going to shut up and say nothing and get to know you better and understand your world better, so I can have an intelligent conversation. And then we'll figure out together how we're going to move forward. I want to know what you expect of me and what you want of me. And we can discuss also like what I'm thinking. And so there's a question in the chat about working agreements. The coaching agreement, working agreement, all those words, they kind of mean the same thing. And so the working agreement is like, how are y'all already working together? Let me understand that first. Then at some, after a couple of weeks or whatever, it just depends on the organization, how are we going to work together? I'd actually like your permission to be a part of this event with you. I want to be a partner. You've got experience, I've got experience, but I'm going to trust you to do what you do. And I'd like for you to trust me to do what I do. And let's see what we can do together. And so it's a conversation, something to that effect over time. All right, so their agenda, that's what's important. And it's because this is it's a partnership. Like we just discussed, this is not about me. It's about your experience and your knowledge mixed with my experience and my knowledge. We fill each other's gaps. I support, my whole role is to support you. I don't have power over you. And I'm not going to try to get my way by going to tell a manager that you're not coachable. When I hear coaches saying that someone is not coachable, I kind of want to pull my hair out. because I don't think that's true. To say someone is not coachable, it means they're broken. You are completely broken and hopeless, and there is nothing that coaching can do for you. You're not coachable. I just don't believe that about humans. So what's more likely is that they're not interested in coaching, or they're not ready for coaching. What may be even more likely is that they don't want coaching from you, right? It doesn't mean they're not coachable. It means that they either don't want coaching and you're trying to force it on them, or they don't want it from you because you're trying to force it on them. Right? People need to feel respected, honored, heard, seen, valued. And if they don't, you won't make any progress. You don't have to prove yourself to people. You just need to prove that you're there for their benefit. And we want to see people on the same level. We're peers. I am peers with Scrum Masters. I'm peers with developers. I'm peers with executives. They're not above me. If they're above me, then I'm afraid. Then I would be afraid to say the things that I need to say for them to hear. And if they're beneath me, then they're not going to want to hear what I have to say. So it's better to look at people like we're all on the same level. We're all just peers. And then I think the big difference is between a coaching mindset and a consulting mindset. Not every conversation is a coaching conversation. Just because you learn some coaching skills and you learn how to ask questions does not mean that you're always coaching. There are other pieces to being an Agile coach and being a Scrum Master. The skill is knowing which skill to use when, or which competency to use when. And for me, my belief and my experience says that doing all of them from a coaching stance or a coaching mindset is more effective. So if I'm training, instead of standing in front of a room and telling people, here's all the stuff, setting up scenarios where they go learn for themselves. Hey, here's a 2-minute introduction to this thing so that we can learn whatever. Y'all go do this and figure it out and then come back and tell me what you learned. That's a coaching way of training rather than a trainer mindset. Consultant mindset is come in, here's what's broken, that, you're doing that wrong, you're doing that wrong, you're doing that wrong, this is what you need to be doing instead. There's a place for that, it's just not coaching. Consulting from a coaching mindset is you tell me what's working, what's not working, what's painful, what's not painful, what are the big problems you want to solve, let me get some information, and here's what I do know. Based on what I see and based on what you've told me, in my professional opinion, this is what is going to help you. Now, the question is if that will work at this company and how it will work at this company. Because you can have the exact same problem at 12 different companies and it's going to be 12 different implementations of that solution, even if it's the same solution, because every system is different. And only they know how they can implement it in their world because of the politics and technical challenges and budget and history and all that, culture and all those things, right? So here's my opinion. You don't have to take it. You hired me for this. Often in my consulting role, I end up having conversations that sound a bit like, you hired me because you wanted this outcome. The decisions that you're making right now, in my opinion, are going to bring you to this other outcome. What would you like to do with that? Would you like to shift and go that direction? Or would you like to get in this other direction? And how do you need to shift to do that? But at the end of the day, it's their decision, not mine. It's their company. I'm going to leave. And they still have to run their company. If I force change on people, I'll get compliance. I'm pretty, I can be pretty persuasive and pretty scary. And I can get a lot of people to comply. Ask my kids, they listen. They don't mess with me and they're adults. They don't mess with mama, right? I can do that. And when I leave, everybody's going to be like, phew, glad that's over. Let's go back to what we really want to do. Right? It's not sustainable. It's a waste of my time and their money. So instead, I want them to own their own change, and I'm not going to do it for them. I partner with them. I will help them figure it out. Only they have the power to implement change, and only they have the power to sustain it. And so when I leave, it should continue. If I'm setting up ways for them to have sustainable change, that doesn't depend on me. If I make them dependent on me as a consultant, great. I can get paid for longer. They're going to have to call me back. That's just not the way I operate as a coach. I would rather leave them sustainable. And they call me back because they move to other companies and say, hey, we want that same thing over here. So big thing, better to ask questions than it is to tell people what to do. And so this just brings me to my last point, that many people think that coaching is asking questions, right? Ask questions, that's coaching. And it's not. That's not all coaching is. So when I've run coaching organizations in some pretty large companies. And as the leader of the coaching organization, you're the one who gets the complaints from the leaders in the organizations. Number one complaint, number one phone call from angry people I would get is, get this coach out of here. They do nothing. Every time I ask them a question, they say, well, what would you do? And I want to punch them in the face. Get them out of here. And I don't blame them. Great way to make enemies, right? If I ask you how to change the oil in my car, and you say, well, how would you do it? Gee, that was helpful. I'm going to hire somebody else. Right? So it's not just asking questions. Coaching is about partnership. And that might mean that you're making observations and helping things to become transparent. It might mean that you're sharing hard feedback that no one else will share. It may mean that you are helping navigate conflict and even stirring the pot a little bit or poking the beehive a bit when people won't actually have conflict, and teaching them to have healthy conflict. It's helping them to think through things by asking questions, by reflecting back what you hear or what you think you see in the organization. Remember, as that Scrum Master or coach, you're working systemically. So you're taking a step back and saying, oh, when this happens here, that happens there. Have you seen that? Right. So there's a lot more to coaching than just asking questions. So if you're just asking questions, you're probably just getting on people's nerves. Right. Let's do better than that. Okay. And so, yeah, there's a lot more to it. And so I wanna give some space for y'all to ask questions, because I'm here to answer questions. I'll throw contact information up on the screen here, so you're welcome to reach out to me. But we've got a few minutes left. What questions or observations or arguments do you have? I'm always happy to hear opposing perspectives.
I'm interested. There was another question in the chat. It was talking about resistance, not from the team itself, but from management or other teams that you're working with.
Yeah, I think to me, it's the same answer, just from a different perspective, right? So why do managers resist? Well, let's put yourself in their shoes for just a moment. I'm a midline manager, first, second level manager. My whole career, I've been successful because I have solved problems and I have maintained control of whatever department I've run. I've assigned people to work. We've gotten stuff done. It's been on time. My stuff runs good. Now, I've got people over me saying, we're going to do things a whole different way, and you actually don't need to do that anymore. You need to be this other kind of manager. So I've been stripped of my identity as a leader and told that I'm going to do something else. Then from the people underneath me, they want to do this Agile thing, and now they want to be empowered, which means now you're taking my power too. because I've got this Agile coach telling me I've got to give my power away. And by the way, that Agile coach is just doing exactly what I used to do because they're running around telling people what to do. And why is that not my job anymore? Right? So that's a whole different pet peeve of mine. And so if you think about it from their perspective, yeah, I don't blame them for resisting. You're threatening their livelihood. You're threatening their careers. You're threatening their family because they might lose their house and their mortgage if they lose their job and all those other things. I don't blame them. So again, instead of going against that resistance, recognize what's happening. And then find out from them what you can do to partner with them. What's their biggest concern? What is it that's going to make their organization successful? And so that's one piece. The other piece is, do you even have permission to work with them? From them. I see way too many Agile coaches and Scrum Masters going to managers and saying, well, let me tell you what you just did and why that's wrong and what you should do differently. Wonderful. Mother-in-law, thanks for coming into my kitchen and telling me how to cook. Not interested. You don't have permission. So instead, build relationship, ask for permission. How are we going to work together? What is it that you want to work on? Most coaches want to work on the way that managers interact with people. And the manager's problem is something else. Work on the manager's problem, and eventually the people thing that you're interested in, it'll rise to the top. I work with executives all the time who've got major issues, major things going on, big strategy issues, companies falling apart and different things, like they want to get different careers, whatever. And they come into our coaching sessions, our one-on-one sessions, and all they want to focus on is, I've got so much work on my plate, I need to figure out how to manage my time better, and I got to figure out how to prioritize better. That's not the real problem. And you know what? Good, let's work on that. Let's get what's in front of you that's so huge out of the way. And then when that's done, we can talk about the real stuff. I don't tell them that, but I know that because I've done it over and over and over and over. And then at some point that stuff kind of gets off their chest. And then one day they're like, you know what? I'm really afraid that this is going to happen. Cool. Now we can get to the real stuff. All right. Let's see. A question in the, how do you address, I already have a plan? How can I help you with that plan? Let's see what it is. Help me to understand it. Can I see it? Can we understand it together so that we can see, so that I can see where I need to go work in the organization? Maybe I don't need to work with you. Maybe I need to work with teams to be able to do your plan. Right? So it's build partnership with them, not resistance. And then many times seen, ooh, I love this. So hiring big consultancies to come fix my Agile, and then you fix them and I'm going to stay in my office and do my thing. This is a matter, this is enterprise coaching, basically. And it's a matter of how you design the engagement. And so this question may be at a different vantage point for me than it is for you. But when I work with organizations, before I will even agree, before I will even agree to work with them, we discuss how we're going to work together, what coaching is, what I do and what I don't do. And I have a requirement of who I will be working with. Right? So they have to provide me with either an individual that's got power to make change in the organization. So that's not going to be a Scrum Master. It's going to be somebody at a higher leadership level, depending on the size of the organization, unless the Scrum Master is a VP or something like that. Cool, because I've been a VP and a Scrum Master and I can make change. Preferably a team of people that consist of people with power and people at different levels, so that we can have clear insight into the real problems of the organization and develop a strategy to create momentum. And if they won't give me that, then I won't work with them, because I'm not going to come fix your Agile. That's a waste of my time and your money. Because no matter what I fix, when I leave, it's going to fall backwards because I won't be here to sustain it. And then so you'll get arguments from people like, well, I don't have time to do that. I want you to fix my company. Great. So you're going to give me power over you, right? Because in order to fix your company, there's things that you're doing that need to change. And the only way I can do that is if I have the power to make you change. So then you're giving me the power to tell you what to do. Is that right? Yeah, well, we know how that goes over. The point taken. Right? So, all right, we're just about out of time, I know, and Jessica, I'm sure y'all have some things that you close with. So I guess I should hand this back over and go from there.
Thanks so much, Cherie. I really appreciate you coming and sharing that perspective with us. I'd love it if anyone that is able to chat in the chat room, go ahead and list, a key takeaway that you got from this presentation. I know I've jotted down several notes just in my own head, but I'm interested to hear from the rest of y'all. What are you going to take away from this session today?
Awesome. And while y'all are typing, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I put my information in the chat box too. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. If you're interested in learning more about coaching, reach out, let me know. We have programs starting all the time, anything from intro to you're going to go all the way to be a PCC so all kinds of different programs.
Amazing. Well, and I can attest to taking a class from Cherie. It changed my life, and I am not exaggerating a tiny bit about that. I am a better Scrum Master because I took coaching lessons from her. So I would encourage you if you're interested. So we've got several takeaways that are coming up in the chat around, whose agenda and whose problem, and talking about, reducing resistance. Aligning on the purpose up front. I'm just kind of skimming through some of these working agreements. Let's see, listening, observing, building relationships is a big takeaway from a lot of our members. So thank you very much for coming and sharing this, Cherie. I certainly hope that we get to have you back here at some point again, maybe next year, to talk about even more wonderful topics. So thank you, and I'll hang out here for another 2 minutes, but then my lunch hour is over, as I imagine most of yours is. So thank you so much, Cherie, and everyone have a wonderful rest of your day.